baby. You don't need these cons. I was so scared. It was like walking on a high wire without a net underneath you. And I remember walking out with the blood rushing out of my head, and we went and just sat there for the first like 2 minutes, not saying a word, just kind of smiling, thinking, well, I better say something because, we're on live TV. And then I just started listening to the conversation. And believe it or not, it was probably the best show I ever did. So there's a lesson in that. Maybe tough love again. But again, I was used to tough love. My parents told me not to come home if I didn't finish college.
See?
Tough love in there, but I will never have a better teacher in my life than Barbara Walters.
Who do you think is like, there's so many people that have come and gone besides yourself, like, throughout the years, the bigger names like Meghan McCain and Candace Cameron, and we have like Jenny McCarthy. Like, who do you think is like Elizabeth Hasselbeck and Rosie and Whoop? Like, who do you think is underrated? Like you say, everyone has, some people lasted for a short period of time. Rosie Perez, Sherry Shepherd, Raven Simone. Like, who do you think is just underrated, or is like that one that was like, oh, she just wasn't such a good fit? And you're like, I don't think she really got the credit she deserved.
Who I think that, because all those people you mentioned did get the credit they deserved. And I think they were all really good fits. I think they were ready to just bounce. They were done with it at the time. Said, we're out of here. It's enough. Like, when I was talking to Meredith about it, and I said, would you ever go back? She goes, that's like a prison sentence. I mean, we die laughing, because the truth is, it is. You feel like you're always in chains, whether it's from the show or the network or the public. The public is the worst one of all of them. You feel so stressed. You can't walk out in public without somebody thinking they know you and telling you that what you said was good or bad. We couldn't walk down the street without 25 people giving me their opinion of me. I'm like, oh gosh, this is awful. But I think someone who was underrated, which I was really shocked because I thought she was so good, was Michelle Collins. I thought she was so funny and so good, and she spoke her mind, and it wasn't like she thought about it too much. It wasn't a canned response where you could tell, oh, she sat and according to this and according to that, because a lot of them do that on the show today with all their facts and this fact and that. I could read a book too, honey. You don't need to tell me the facts. I want to know what you think and why you think it, not because you read something in an article. It's a little bit extra right now with that. I could use a little less of that. But Michelle wasn't like that. She really spoke from the heart. And I think, in my opinion, the best people on that show are the ones that speak from the heart. And it doesn't mean that they're always going to be right. Doesn't mean they're going to be liked. It doesn't mean they're even going to get the facts straight sometimes. But who cares? Because 90% of America isn't getting the facts straight either. And it makes them more lovable, in my opinion. Sherry Shepherd was awesome. She was one of my favorite people on that show. And that is why she has a show of her own right now, because I think she's been missed. Her presence on television has been missed. And I think people see, they see someone who's authentic. She's so authentic. And yeah, they would make fun of her for silly things. She'd say, so what? You think she's the only person on the planet who ever says things like that? Because I can guarantee you, every single person I know who's not on TV mixes up their words every day. So imagine doing that on television and then have everyone making fun of you. Come on, get over it. She's awesome.
You think she's like a great replacement for Wendy?
I do. I think it's different. And no one's ever going to be Wendy. That was a moment in time. And Wendy is one of one. One of one. That's it. Limited edition. They broke the mold. You'd be very hard pressed, I think, to be able to find another talent like Wendy who could say what she says and get away with it. Joan Rivers could do that, and Wendy, but so many other people have tried. Chelsea tries to do it, and people get mad at her and hate her, but they don't hate Wendy, and they never hated Joan. It's a really interesting sort of gift you have to be like that. You can't sit down there and say the things that Wendy says and said and get away with it. It's a really rare sort of quality.
I agree because I do a gossip show on this interview podcast one day a week. And, and well, with me, it's like people in the reality space will get mad at me. And it's like, did you listen? Those are not my words. That was the guest's words that actually hates you. I didn't say it, but it is a fine line. I agree. I think you're right. That was the brilliance of Wendy. She would be out with you at night and she'd be like, this drink is great and we're going to have another one and you are my great friend. Tomorrow morning I'm going to talk about all this on the air and I'm not going to necessarily say great things, but you're still my great friend. It's brilliant.
Or, do you know, she started on the red carpet on the radio. The stuff that she would say on the red carpet on the radio, I was dying. I can't believe somebody didn't smack her. And instead, she got bigger and bigger and bigger and got a television deal out of it. She was one of a kind. I think it's going to be a long time before you can find someone who's going to do what Wendy did. Sherry, different bird altogether. Sherry's one of the kindest, is not going to say a bad word about you, even if there are bad things to say. She's the best.
Do you think there was any co-host of The View who was the opposite, who was overrated?
Who is overrated? Ooh, that's a good question. Sheesh. Okay, let's go through them right now. Who was overrated?
I mean, we have like Hasselbeck, Rosie, Whoopi, Sherry, who you don't think it is, McCarthy, Rosie Perez, Raven Simone, Candace Cameron, not Michelle Collins, Meghan McCain. I mean, Joy Behar, Vieira, Star.
Oh, Nicole was on there, who's sweet as could be. No,
Sunny.
I wouldn't say Sunny. I wouldn't say anyone was overrated because I mean, all those people you just mentioned really did a good job. I mean, whether you liked them or not, oh boy, were they entertaining. I mean, you could sit back and be like, what in the heck is happening right now? They delivered. So whether you like them or not, they delivered. I would say maybe some people weren't as a good a fit because I think maybe they were either not willing to share their views and their opinions or not comfortable, like I said, because maybe they got burned and they're like, oh boy, I didn't realize this is what I signed up for. I think they were a little maybe too meek and got eaten up at that table. Because if you are too kind there and you don't fight to get your words in, you're not getting your words in. You're not getting
who do you think was the most in over their head then? Which is not a negative. It just is what it is. Not everyone's
the most in over my head. I mean, it was the original. So, okay. So besides, I mean, I wouldn't say in over your head, but I think Nicole is so sweet and so kind that I think, and I love her. And I remember doing interviews with her and me thinking, oh gosh, she's so nice. I mean, I don't think nice goes a long way on that show. I don't think polite and nice goes a long way. I think being very forward and a little abrupt serves you well there.
I would think so.
Not a table where I would bring my manners.